In this video, I'm going to show you something I've been working on, I guess like a more of a workflow or a method. It's basically just how I'm placing windows. I had this method in development for a while, but I guess I never had time to really experiment and figure out exactly how to execute it. So just some background is that I've been working on a template, which feels like forever. I've got a lot of it starting to come together. I didn't quite know how to organize my layers. I got a special convention for naming my materials. That's not applied to this file, but I got all that sorted out, all that coming together. I've got some annotation styles and whatnot. And I'm finally figuring out, like with Rhino 8, there's a lot of new features that some of it you'll want to take advantage of. Some of it you maybe want to just put off to the side and not use, right? So it's just been slow going. And then as I build my building, this simple house is a perfect, I guess, vehicle for developing the standards, because it's not complex in that I'm not going to spend much time modeling it, but it does kind of force me to establish my standards as I go through it. Or it doesn't force me, but like if I'm going to model this, I might as well have some sort of means and method, right? So yeah, I was doing these models. I've modeled a few buildings last year, and I was finding that when I was placing my windows, it was just going really, really slow. Now I know I'm not going to have Revit speed, at least on some aspects, but it was just way too slow. My windows were kind of ending up in the wrong place. I just wasn't able to establish an effective workflow. So yeah, I tried a few different things. I'll just mention right now that this is something you'll be using with out-of-the-box Rhino, no plugins necessary. But yeah, I'd place my windows and they'd always end up in the wrong place. So I slowly figured out a way to get them in the right place and not take a ridiculous amount of time to get them there. So before I go too far, what I'm going to do is just pull this to there. Now, I don't think it's doing it on this file, but one thing I was experiencing is that when I have the intersection object snapped checked, whenever I'd move stuff like just a little bit, the object would move on me on the last second, but that doesn't seem to be doing that right now. And it might have been related to where I was snapping the object. But yeah, so if you are having trouble with that, that could be one cause. So anyways, that's not really related to what we're doing anyways, but I just wanted to throw that in somewhere in this video when I remembered. But yeah, so what I have going on here is that I have a system of guides, and those guides are all specific links. For example, if this window's way out here, I can just drag this to here, and then I can just drag that to there, like so. So I have all these different options for positioning in the window, and that kind of cured I guess the small errors I was having. I was having like windows a quarter inch off this way, an inch off that way, right? And I haven't had that problem yet. And then depending on what you do, sometimes like you might want to set your C-plane like that, and then you'd want to like measure out your distances and place your wall like right on the edge of this dimension, right? You might want to pull a line up from your floor and then align your windows to that, right? So there's all these different ways you might want to align your windows, and just having these guides just gives you so much flexibility. And I'm kind of learning how to take advantage of various features in Rhino. For example, you always have like for each object you have your own like special set of properties. So you can like turn this block into a unique block. I can swap this block out for other ones. It almost works like Revit would. And yeah, I know like you can create families and stuff in Revit and just click a bunch of parameters, but God, for a program with perpetual license, I can use this pretty much as long as it works on my version of Windows indefinitely, right? But yeah, so I have this ability just to switch the windows around basically on a whim. It's another thing I had to figure out with my template. I have to settle on block naming conventions. But yeah, so I have all that set up, and now I can just change these things super quickly. So I'll just delete all this stuff that we don't need. So one thing I figured is that if I'm going to develop like a common window design, what I was doing is I just Control Shift Select, grab my, almost swore by accident there, oops. Just grab, see, I'm gonna hit Alt and that, and just drag that face out. And now I just have a nice little face where I can develop the shape of the windows separately. And that's what these are. These are just my, I guess my window placing guides. And then when it's time to bring this into the model, I'll just copy it all. I'll just pick one of these reference points and I'll just do whatever, rotate it, drag it over here, and just slap it into place. It's actually super quick. And let's say I wanted to make these windows look prettier, way less basic. I wanted to add more styles and rails and stuff like that. I can just do that, and if it's the same window block, I only have to change it once, right? So yeah, the important thing about these guides that I have that layer locked right now. Let's just get rid of that layer I accidentally created for who knows what reason. And let's see if I can't find my window guide layer. Here we go. Yeah, I have it locked, but yeah, I'll just unlock it just for so we have a good reference. And that's even before, right before I made this video, I realized I could start playing with the colors of this, because the important thing here is that I'm still deciding on how to build my windows. And that's the good thing about using blocks, because then I just have to change these blocks once and they'll update in my model, right? But yeah, right now I'm just, I might not do the rough openings like I did on some of my past models that you may have noticed, but I just have this window frame piece right here. I'll just go inside the block and show you just like a really narrow poly surface. And I think that's the way I'm going to do things. I'll see how it looks in section and decide if I'm sticking with it. But the geometry of this is critical, like super critical, because I find if these end up being off, and then you drag this around, you copy it, then that ends up being a whole lot of work. But yeah, like I know this isn't Revit, but I mean, if you stick to a good workflow, this can actually be pretty fast. And yeah, the other thing I like about this is there's no lag or anything. Even if something's a little bit faster, I hate using programs with lag. So yeah, in a lot of situations, like outright, I think once I really develop this, my speed's just going to be faster than Revit, like period. No ifs, ands, or buts, right? But yeah, so I have all these windows pre-prepared, and I decided to be smart about this because I have a bad habit of modeling something and then doing the work over and over and over again, right? Which is just stupid. So what I've done here is I have these, forget what I'm calling this block. Let's see, go to the block manager. That'll help me figure it out. So yeah, window 1010, that stands for 1 foot 0, 1 foot 0. I just call it base window geometry. So anyways, let's haul this over here. Let's say we have a bigger window, right? Let's move that 12 inches. Let's move that up 24. So now you got to be a little bit careful about how you do this. Oh yeah, the other thing I'm doing here is that, okay, align to object. That's important because the base point of the object, I'm being very meticulous and making sure the base point is right in the middle of this thing right here. 6 inches, 6 inches. Just verify that. Yeah, so I'm just being like very OCD about making sure this geometry is where it's supposed to be before I copy it. And then we'll do just that. We'll copy it. We'll go Alt, Enter, so I can copy it there. Now if I wanted, I could go like this, put that there, move this to the edge, right? Now I could explode this and recreate a block, or I could go to my properties, go to this thing right here, and click this button. What are we going to call this? That was 2 feet by 3 feet. Let's do 2030. We'll call it test window. Go to OK. So now I'm going to go into this block geometry. So this is a good time to just to know where your dimensions are, right? I do have an extra step here. I want these lines to be centered, preferably. It's not critical though. And this guide, I'm still deciding if this line's even necessary or not, but I'll figure that out later. And I have no idea what I just did there. I think I just isolated everything. Whatever. Okay. It's late, but I really did want to make this video. Okay, so I'm going to do a Control-Shift-Select. Now, don't drag this where it is. You got to use the guides because this is centered, I guess, on like the volumetric centroid of all this geometry, I think, or something. I'm sure it takes into account the lines too, obviously, which have no volume, but there's some sort of big brain calculation that dictates where that gumball was, and it won't be where we want it. We want it at the end of that guide. Okay, we got that there, and I'm just going to drag this. Okay, so we move that 12. This has to go 6 inches over, just to make sure it's centered. But I mean, we can just go like that and just go blam. Because I'm really bad at math, especially late at night. So I'll just take a second to verify that. Remember, I was having a lot of trouble with this intersection object snap, which is extremely useful, but I know of a couple situations where it is biting people. So if you are having trouble with things snapping, like just stuff's ending up in the wrong place, it might be this guy right here. So love-hate relationship with that object snap. Anyways, enough talking. Let's finish this off. Okay, we'll take this, and remember, that's not where your intuition would guess it is. So we'll go like that. We'll make sure that's there. And that looks correct. Yeah, so a few things I'm doing here is sometimes I'm forgetting to make the block unique and stuff like that. But it's quite easy just to undo your way back or just recreate it. It's just, you screw up and accidentally overwrite a block. Well, you just recreate the block because it only takes 2 seconds. So yeah, I can just click this. I have that line nice and highlighted now. I do usually have this layer here for these window, I guess, like placeholders locked. But if it's not locked, you can just click it and just make sure everything's nice and aligned. So yeah, I could drag each elevation's windows and doors all in place at the same time. But yeah, I could just drag this guy way over here, rotate him. I don't really know where to put this. Anyways, let's go like that. Drag this guy there. So you might have noticed that I have these dimensions here. So you know that this point is 2 feet away from, I guess, where like the face of the wall, or at least where the window would rest. So that's another way you can place these if your snaps aren't working ideally. Okay, let's go back to this guy. Now let's say that's actually where we want the window. Let's do our 3-point perspective. I like the 3-point because it allows me to dictate where my X and Y are. So if I draw a rectangle, I can do R 24, 48. If I don't use the 3-point, if I just use the by object or the auto C-plane, I don't use it. It can be really useful. But yeah, I'm a trailing edge kind of guy, so I try to utilize the features I'm familiar with and then only learn new stuff if I absolutely have to. But yeah, I like that 3-point snap because I just like knowing where my UCS coordinates are. So yeah, I have this guy here. Now I'm going to try something. I've done this before. It's worked out beautifully sometimes, other times not so much. But the other thing we can do here is, use these guides for our Boolean object. There it is. Yeah, I even made a layer for Booleans. For this project, I didn't really use it. I forget, when I was modeling this, there was a reason for it. I kind of knew, I planned the windows out as I was drawing the line work that I extruded for these walls. But let's say you're designing this. You can actually design this on the wall. You can dimension everything, make sure all your windows have nice dimensions, nice even dimensions, make it easy on your builder, right? But yeah, I'm just going to see Boolean difference. I did have issues doing Boolean differences with mirrored blocks. In Rhino 7, the Booleans work differently. In Rhino 8, it seems like I Boolean with a sub-object of the block. So anyways, let's do that. Okay, I think that worked. Now we just have to figure out how to select that inner surface, which go like that. So I probably could have selected both those surfaces at once. So yeah, if you wanted to place your windows, you could have these Booleans. Of course, you got to go into your block after and delete it, or you could just turn that layer off, and same applies for those guides, right? So that's something you could do while you're creating your window. You wouldn't have to, you know, create a Boolean for each and every one of these windows. But let's say these holes weren't cut. It would probably take me not even 2 minutes to make every Boolean for every opening. So yeah, like if I had my families already built in Revit and yada, 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 all this other stuff going on, I could probably do it faster. But you saw how I adjusted the shape of this window. You can model something faster in Rhino than, you know, I've created a really good parametric window for Revit, and I've used it exactly 0 times. Go figure, right? So you don't even need Grasshopper. You just create your geometry. And remember, in Rhino, you can pull stuff as needed. A lot of people underestimate what you can actually do with geometry in Rhino. It's pretty crazy. Even like poly surfaces, you can do some wild modifications to it. I'm gonna be a little bit bold here. Sometimes you'll hang up Rhino if you just try to do something ridiculous, like just pull something that like that, but worse, right? But Rhino geometry, like, I love my AutoCAD dynamic blocks, if you're familiar with some of my other videos. But Rhino, man, like almost basically every object is in its own way somewhat dynamic, right? Anyways, yeah, you can see how my template's coming along. I do have some annotations built, a little bit of code. My code ability right now is really low because I've barely been doing it. I've been using AI and just trying to stitch together what I can. But things are finally coming along, and I was pretty happy about this method for placing windows that I came up with. I knew about the block swapping, but I just never thought to utilize it, right? Yeah, so anyways, that's all I wanted to cover in this video. I'm going to have additional videos as I discover stuff that I find useful for my template. Now, if you're into this sort of thing, I'd love to have a bit of help with this, or even just ideas or whatever. But yeah, the one-man show, it's just going really, really slow. And honestly, I think Rhino 9 will be released, and then I'll basically be starting over. But yeah, anyways, thanks for sticking around to the end of this video. Please leave any comments if you have any ideas, any suggestions. And yeah, thanks a lot for watching, and I hope to see you again next time.